Welcome to Revenge Report. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Let's dive in. I was sitting in my rig outside a shipping dock in Reno, half a sandwich in my hand, when my phone buzzed with a group chat notification. Family thread. I tapped it without thinking, expecting the usual nonsense. Chain texts, politics, my aunt sending Bible verses she didn't live by. What I saw made me freeze. It was a photo. My grandma Dottie sitting alone on a metal bench at some Greyhound station. She had her purse in her lap, white sweater pulled tight over her shoulders. Her little rolling suitcase was tucked beside her, and she was staring off like she didn't want to bother anyone. Underneath the photo, someone, my cousin Brad, I think, had captioned it. LMAO, Rob forgot to pick up Nana again. She's just chillin'. I blinked at the screen. Then again, my chest got hot. My jaw tightened so hard my teeth ached. She wasn't just chillin', she looked forgotten. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I scrolled up through the chat, thumb flicking fast. 3 weeks ago. Rob gonna swing by after her appointment, right? Never followed up. 2 months ago. Dottie said she fell in the kitchen. She okay? Just a laughing emoji from Rob. Every damn time. Same pattern. Rob, my mom's younger brother, blowing off responsibility like it was a mosquito on his arm. Everyone else just shrugged and let it slide. I should have said something then. I didn't. I barely noticed the knock on my window until the second one rattled the glass. Hey, Steph, we're up next, my coworker called out. I waved him off without looking. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. The sandwich was crushed in my lap. That photo. Her face. That stupid caption. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I opened my Maps app and typed in, Redding, California Greyhound. 6 hours. I threw the rig into gear, swung off the lot, and drove straight to dispatch. I didn't even wait to park properly. I left the engine running, marched inside, and grabbed the phone off the wall. Pull me from the rotation, I told the guy at the desk. I'm off for the week. He blinked. Everything okay? Nope. I yanked my keys out of my pocket. But I'm gonna fix it. I was already halfway to the door. I didn't even stop for gas until I hit the state line. The sun had gone down behind me, and I was chasing the last strip of purple out west, the kind that hugs the horizon right before the sky goes full black. The interstate was wide open, just me, my headlights, and the low hum of tires on cracked pavement. I kept thinking about that photo, her little legs barely touching the ground, that dumb blue suitcase. And Rob. The first memory that came back was last year, when Grandma had that outpatient procedure, some minor thing with her heart. Nothing huge, but she needed a ride and someone to stay with her overnight. Mom was busy. I was on the road. Rob had said, I got it. He didn't show. She ended up calling a neighbor, Miss Lillian, who was 86 and half blind. The next one hit harder. 2 winters ago, Grandma slipped on the porch steps. Nothing broke, but she was bruised up, shaken. I was in Minnesota that day. Whiteout roads, -20 wind chill, still driving freight to keep my paycheck alive. Rob lived 15 minutes away. You know what he said when I called him? I'm not an on-call nurse. She's tough, I remember just holding the phone, waiting for him to say he was kidding. He never did. That bitterness, it wasn't new. I'd swallowed it for years. I'd let it slide like everyone else. He was the youngest, the funny one. Funny. Like the time he stood up at that 4th of July cookout 2 months ago, beer in hand, big old grin, and said in front of the whole family, there's our girl Stephanie, still out there chasing diesel fumes while the men make real money. People laughed. Even my dad cracked a smile. You want to know what I did? Nothing. I didn't defend myself. I didn't throw my plate at him, even though I wanted to. I just grabbed my keys and left early. Didn't even hug Grandma goodbye. I still hate myself for that. This time, though, nah. This wasn't just about picking her up at some bus stop like a good little granddaughter. This was about sending a message, to him, to all of them. I gripped the wheel tighter. Rob had gotten away with this crap because no one wanted the hassle. No one wanted the blowback. He was loud, cocky, the type who called people too sensitive after tearing them down. He never respected Grandma, and he sure as hell didn't respect me. I thought about all the times she'd bragged about me to strangers, how she called me her rolling thunder, and how she'd light up when I pulled into her driveway in the rig. She never asked me for anything, not once. And now she was sitting at a Greyhound station like a stray dog waiting on someone who never cared enough to show up. I slammed my palm against the steering wheel. Not this time. He wasn't gonna laugh this one off. He wasn't gonna post some dumb excuse and have the family shrug it away like usual. I was gonna roll in there with everything I had: diesel fumes, noise, chrome, rubber, and backup. I wasn't just pulling Grandma out of that station, I was putting Rob on notice. He wanted a show. I'd give him one he wouldn't forget. I hit the outskirts of Reading just after 2 in the morning. Pulled into a truck stop I knew well, off I-5 near the old mill yard, lot full of sleeping rigs and buzzing light poles. My back was stiff, eyes dry, but I wasn't done. Not even close. I killed the engine and sat there for a second, phone in hand, thumb hovering over contacts I hadn't called in years. First one, Randy. Second, Angel. Third, Moose. These were ride or die folks. Old biker crew I used to roll with before the long haul life took over. Most of them still lived local. We hadn't talked in a while, but loyalty doesn't expire with time. Yo, Randy answered, voice rough like he'd just cracked a beer. You busy? I asked. Steph. Hell no. What's up? By the time I hung up, I had 3 of them meeting me at the Greasy Spoon Diner next to the fuel pumps. It was one of those all-night spots with burnt coffee and cracked booths, perfect for planning something stupid. They showed up 10 minutes later, helmets in hand, patched vests over hoodies. Angel still had the same long braid down her back. Moose looked like he could bench press a freezer. I didn't waste time. I slid my phone across the table. Look at this, I said. They leaned in. Nobody laughed. I let the silence hang while they read. The picture, the caption, then the rest of the chat. Months of Rob dodging rides, mocking her. The way the family let it all roll off. Same Rob who calls himself Family Man online? Angel asked. Yup. Randy shook his head. That's some cold-ass, She's 82, I said. And he left her at a goddamn bus station. Again, I looked them all in the eye. I'm not just picking her up. I'm making sure the whole town sees it. Moose raised a brow. You want a crowd? I want noise, I said. I want chrome. I want her walking out of that station feeling like royalty. Angel cracked a grin. A VIP escort? Full leather, full throttle. To where? My rig'll be parked out front. We ride her out of there like it's the Rose Bowl parade. They laughed, at first, but the mood shifted fast. Angel picked up my phone again and scrolled back through the texts. Her smile dropped. She always baked us pies, she said quietly. After poker nights at the house, remember? She made me an apple bourbon one for my birthday, Moose said. Didn't even ask. Let's return the favor, Angel said. Randy nodded. I'm in. I'll call the rest of the crew. We'll make it tight. We rolling deep or light? Moose asked. 6 bikes max, I said. Enough to make a scene but not block traffic. And I want formation, not chaos. Precision. Respect gear. Full. Time? Be there by 8. She's been sitting on that bench since yesterday. We finished the last of our coffee. I left cash on the table and walked out without another word. They knew what this was now. This wasn't a rescue. This was war with a smile. I barely slept. Maybe 45 minutes with my boots still on in the sleeper cab. Didn't matter. By the time the sky started bleeding pale orange over Reading, I was already rolling toward the Greyhound station. Downtown was just waking up. Coffee shops flipping signs, delivery vans double parked, joggers pretending they weren't cold. I turned the corner onto 7th and dropped into low gear, the rumble of my rig echoing down the block. The terminal sat squat between a pawn shop and a payday loan place. Real classy. I angled my 18-wheeler across the curbside lane and killed the engine. Air brakes hissed like a warning shot. People turned, some stared, some pulled out their phones. And then, right on cue, I heard them. The Harleys, 6 of them, roaring in like wolves, 2 by 2, exhaust pipes screaming through the morning calm. They slid in behind me with surgical precision, lined up clean. Full leathers, polished chrome, club patches tight across denim and canvas. Traffic slowed. Pedestrians froze. You could feel the bass of it all in your chest. I didn't wait for whispers to start. I grabbed my gloves, slammed the cab door, and headed inside. The terminal lights buzzed overhead. Everything smelled like vending machine coffee and plastic. A tired woman in a uniform glanced up from the counter, but didn't say a word. And there she was. Same bench, same sweater, same little suitcase. Grandma Dottie. She was sitting with her ankles crossed, purse clutched to her chest, looking around like she'd already decided she wasn't going to cry over being stood up again. Her eyes flicked toward the front glass, caught the outline of my rig and the bike stacked behind it. But she didn't move. I walked straight up, boots thudding across the tile. Connor's logistics jacket zipped to the neck, name patch sharp across the front. She looked up at me, confused at first, like her brain couldn't quite believe what her eyes were seeing. I stopped in front of her and said, loud enough for the whole room to hear, "Miss Dottie, your ride is ready." People turned. She blinked. "Stephanie?" I nodded once. She leaned to the side, squinting out the front doors at the wall of chrome and black leather outside. Then she smiled. Not a big one, but real. The kind she only gave when something surprised her in a good way. "You didn't have to." "I know," I said, already reaching for her suitcase. "But I wanted to." She stood slow, one hand on the bench, the other holding onto my forearm for balance. Behind us, someone whispered, "What is this?" Another voice said, "That's her grandma." I didn't care. As we walked toward the door, Grandma glanced up at me. "Are those motorcycles?" "Yup. All of them." "For me?" "Every single one." She chuckled, soft and disbelieving. "Well, I'll be damned." We stepped out into the light, and the street greeted us with the low, constant hum of 7 idling engines, mine included. The bikers stood beside their rides, boots planted wide, arms crossed. Not smiling, not goofing, just showing up. One guy across the street clapped, just once. Then someone else pulled out a phone. I caught a teenager mouthing "whoa" to his friend. Grandma reached for my hand without asking, and I let her hold on tight. She was 82, maybe 100 pounds soaking wet, but in that moment, she walked taller than I'd ever seen her. I had one boot on the first step of the truck, hand out to help Grandma climb up, when the front door of the terminal slammed open behind us. "Are you kidding me?" I didn't even have to turn around to know who it was. Rob's voice carried like a siren, loud, pissed off, desperate to catch up with a moment that had already passed him by. His keys were jangling in one hand, phone in the other, and his shirt was half untucked like he'd rolled out of bed 30 minutes late. "What the hell is this circus?" he barked, marching toward us with that puffed-up walk he always used when he wanted to look like a man in charge. "You're making a scene, Stephanie." Phones turned. People who'd been watching quietly now leaned in closer. One little girl, standing with her mom near the bench, pointed and whispered, "Is that the guy who forgot his grandma?" Rob heard it. I saw it hit him in the gut. His jaw flexed. He pushed past 2 bikers, both of whom stepped aside just enough to let him through, but not without staring him down. He stormed straight toward me, face blotchy, chest out. "You think you're better than the rest of us just 'cause you drive a fucking truck?" He spat. "What is this? Some kind of ego trip?" I didn't flinch, didn't blink. I turned to him slow, calm, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "You forgot your own mother." Again his mouth opened, ready to fire back, but I didn't let him. "We're just making sure she's not treated like an afterthought anymore." That stopped him, dead quiet. Even the engines idling behind us seemed softer for a second. He looked around, expected backup, looked for someone to laugh with him, someone to roll their eyes at me like they always did. No one did. Even the terminal staff had come outside now, leaning against the doorway like they were watching a street performance. One guy held up a phone, recording. No one stopped him. Rob's eyes flicked from me to Grandma, who was still holding my hand, still standing straight. "Mom," he said, almost scoffing, "you know I didn't mean to forget." I got stuck helping. "You always have an excuse," Grandma cut in, voice sharp and steady. "Every time." He stepped toward her. "Come on, I'm here now." "No," she said louder. He froze. "You've let me down enough, Rob. I won't wait on you again." That hit harder than anything I could have said. You could see it crack him, just for a second. His face twitched, then went flat. His hands opened and closed like he couldn't decide whether to argue or walk away. He chose the third option, stumbling backward like he'd been pushed. "You're making me look like a bad guy," he said, voice dropping to a whine. "To everybody." I stared at him, jaw tight. "You did that all by yourself." More phones were up now. People recording. Bystanders whispering. A few even nodded in approval. Rob's gaze flicked around again, looking for a way out, a savior, maybe a little dignity. He didn't find any. "Fuck this," he muttered, turning away. "You're all ridiculous." He stomped back toward the terminal, but not fast enough to miss Angel calling after him. "She deserved better, Rob." Maybe next time show up on time, he didn't respond. Just pushed through the glass doors and disappeared. I turned back to Grandma. She was still watching the spot where he'd stood, face calm, not sad. Just done. You ready to go? I asked. She nodded once. Been ready since yesterday. I helped her up the step stool we'd rigged next to the cab, then climbed in after her, slamming the heavy door shut behind us. The bikers fired up their engines in one tight motion, no signals, no words, just respect. I hit the ignition. The crowd stepped back. Traffic paused. And Rob? He stayed inside. I dropped the rig into gear and eased off the brake, slow and steady, the cab rumbling beneath us like a beast waking up. Outside, the bikers fell into place. 3 up front, 3 in the rear. Tight formation, no gaps. Their engines grumbled low and deep like they were holding something back. I rolled us forward, barely over 15, just enough to let the whole street know we weren't in a rush. People moved aside, pedestrians stepped off curbs, phones came out. I saw a woman on the sidewalk mouth, "What the hell is this?" to her friend. A little boy raised his arm and pointed. And then, somewhere near 3rd and Walnut, a man in a ball cap stopped, took it off, and held it to his chest as we passed. Dottie noticed. She leaned forward in her seat and whispered, "Is that for me?" "Damn right it is," I said, keeping one hand steady on the wheel. "Whole town's watching, Nana." She sat back slowly, eyes wide, but her smile said everything. We weren't just going home. We were rewriting what that meant. I could see folks stepping out of shops, a UPS guy lowering a box mid-delivery, baristas pressing their faces to cafe windows. That sound, the rigs and the Harleys working together, carved through the noise of morning traffic like a knife. I took the long way, past the church Rob still liked to pretend he attended, drove by the old high school where I used to pick Grandma up from substitute shifts, made sure to hit Main Street at the slowest crawl that engine would let me. This wasn't a shortcut. This was a message. Dottie didn't say much. She just looked out her window, watching faces light up like she was riding in a presidential motorcade. At one red light, a woman knocked on her car window, held up her phone, and yelled, "Is that your grandma?" I leaned over and called back through the cracked driver's window, "Sure is." The woman grinned and shouted, "She's a queen!" One of the bikers flashed her a peace sign as the light turned green. We kept rolling. I saw Randy tap his brake twice, our signal for the home stretch. Angel pulled up on the left and gave a nod before slotting back into formation. Even the traffic behind us didn't seem mad. Nobody honked. They just followed. Respect followed, and when I finally turned onto Grandma's street, the neighbors were already outside. Some were clapping. One guy filmed from his porch with a camcorder like it was the damn Thanksgiving parade. Grandma looked over at me. "This is a lot." "Yeah," I said, grinning. "Exactly what you deserve." By the next morning, everybody in Reading had heard about it. Not just the truck, not just the bikes. The whole damn thing. The terminal, the speech, Rob getting humiliated in front of half the county. It blew up faster than I expected. Someone had filmed the whole exchange, Grandma calling him out, me standing there like a wall. It hit local Facebook first, then the community Reddit page. Then someone's cousin put it on TikTok with the caption, "She got a Harley escort while her son was late again." By the end of the week, Grandma Dottie wasn't just that nice old lady who made pies. She was a damn icon. Somebody started printing t-shirts, black cotton, bold white letters across the front, "Ride with respect," underneath, a little sketch of a semi and 6 bikes. They sold out in 2 days. Meanwhile, Rob was on damage control, clumsy, desperate, pathetic damage control. He posted on Facebook that it was a misunderstanding and said people were twisting a private family issue. Didn't help. Commenters lit him up. "Bro, she's your mom, not a UPS package. You forgot her on Mother's Day and Wednesday. Imagine needing your niece to teach you how to be a decent human." And the dealership? His name was still on the sign, but folks stopped walking through the doors. His Google reviews tanked, 1 star after another. Wouldn't trust him to pick up a sandwich, let alone a car. Even church wasn't safe. The pastor made a sermon about honoring your elders that Sunday. Didn't say Rob's name, but he didn't have to. The whole front row side-eyed him the whole time. At the Rotary Club, people just stopped sitting near him. At Pete's Diner, where he used to run his mouth and order off menu like he owned the place, the waitress told him they were fresh out of respect when he asked for his usual. No one came to his defense, not even the cousins who used to laugh at his dumb jokes. I didn't gloat. I didn't say a word online. Didn't have to. The town did it for me. But every time I walked down Main Street, I heard it. That's her, the one who did it for her grandma. The post office clerk gave me a thumbs up when I came in to mail a package. The lady at the hardware store said, "That was the most badass thing I've ever seen." Some high school kid held the door open for me at the gas station and whispered, "My grandma cried watching it." It was weird. I wasn't used to being noticed unless I was blocking traffic in my rig or parking wrong. But now, people nodded at me like I'd done something noble, but I hadn't done it for them. This was about Grandma, and that week, she glowed. She walked into church with her head high and her steps slow, like she owned those pews. After service, a teenage girl asked to take a picture with her. At the grocery store, the cashier refused to let her pay for her eggs. "That ride was legendary, ma'am," she said. "You're basically Reading royalty now." And the best part? Grandma didn't let it go to her head. She just smiled and said, "Sometimes you gotta make noise to be heard." I started stopping by Grandma's house every Tuesday and Friday. No announcement, no heads up. Just me pulling up in the driveway with diesel still in my jacket and road grit in my boots. She'd always be waiting with a cup of weak coffee and a crooked smile. We set up a new routine without saying it out loud. First thing I did was install a home security system. Took a whole afternoon. She kept handing me cookies and asking, "What's that one do again?" "The doorbell camera," I told her. "So next time Rob shows up trying to fake concern, you've got footage." She laughed. "Might even frame it." Next visit, I brought her a smartphone. She didn't want it at first, said her old flip phone still made calls just fine. I sat her down at the kitchen table, showed her how to swipe, tap, and send texts. By the end of the day, she was messaging me gifs of dancing cats. "You've created a monster," I muttered. She replied, "I've been a monster. Now I'm just tech savvy. I started bringing her food from my roots. Nothing fancy. Leftover Waffle House, weird snacks from Montana gas stations, truck stop jerky that could chip a tooth. She loved it. "This beef stick tastes like punishment," she said once, chewing like a champ. 10 out of 10. Saturdays, the biker crew started showing up. Just 2 or 3 at a time, but consistent. Moose brought her fresh strawberries. Angel helped her trim the roses in the yard. Randy fixed the wobbly porch step Rob had been getting to for 6 years. She called them her leather gentlemen. Eventually, she made each of them their own mug. Sharpied names on white ceramic. Moose Juice, Angel Fuel, Randy's Rocket Fuel. They used them every time. One Friday, I found her setting up folding tables in the living room. Decks of cards, bowls of pretzels, big jug of sweet tea. "Poker night?" I asked. "Bridge," she corrected. "We're not animals." Turns out she'd joined a senior walking group too. They called themselves the Wednesday Wanderers. Mostly just strolled the mall and judged everyone's shoes, but it made her happy. She moved different now, talked louder, looked people in the eye, no more waiting, no more apologizing. That part of her life was over. One morning, I pulled into her driveway after a 2-day haul and climbed into the cab to grab my duffel. There was something tucked under the windshield wiper, folded paper, neat handwriting. "You're the kind of granddaughter every woman deserves." Dashty I stood there a long minute, paper in one hand, other still on the door handle. Didn't cry. Didn't need to. Just nodded to myself, shoved it in my jacket pocket, and headed up the walk. 3 months later, I was parked at a rest stop just outside Boise. Long-haul overnight run, triple-drop freight, barely enough time to breathe between cities. My back was tight, eyes sore, boots kicked off beside the brake pedal. The lot was mostly empty, just a couple reefers humming in the dark and the low hum of a vending machine behind the restrooms. I leaned back in the driver's seat and pulled out my phone. Opened the family group chat without thinking. Quiet. Rob hadn't posted a single word in weeks. No memes, no passive-aggressive digs, no smart-ass jokes about grandma forgetting her keys or burning toast. Just silence. Someone had posted a photo of her yesterday, standing next to her walking group at the outlet mall, wearing a ridiculous pink visor and holding a Jamba Juice like it was champagne. The comments were all hearts and looking good, Nana. Even the cousins who used to treat her like a footnote were chiming in with smiley faces and "Love you, Dottie." And then, one new message popped in. Private. From my cousin Heather. "You did the right thing." I was too chicken to say anything back then. I read it twice, then smiled, just once. Not for her, not for the chat, just for me. I didn't need the validation. Didn't need a parade or a headline. I knew what I did. I knew who I did it for. I closed the app, tossed the phone onto the dash, and climbed into the sleeper berth. My shoulders hit the mattress like bricks, body sore, but my chest, light. I stared at the ceiling for a few seconds, listening to the engine cool, the quiet tick 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 of hot metal fading down. Then I whispered, to no one but the dark, no apologies left to give. And for the first time in a long, long time, I actually meant it.